Live from our studios right here in Burbank, California, this is the Hearthstone Legendary Series Finals, Day 2. And don't you worry, in case you missed any of the action yesterday, all 8 players will be returning and competing playing today. A big thank you to all of you watching, whether it's right here in the studio or from the comfort of wherever you are. And now to move on, to who better to announce our games for today, and of course to tell you guys about all of yesterday's games than our trio of wonderful casters. We have Frodan, Azumo Cutie, and Reynad. Take it away, boys.
Thank you so much, Anna. That's right. The blue trio of casters has united, and together we make one casting team. My name is Frodan, and with me is TJ and Reynad. And we promise you that we did not color coordinate this morning. It's not actually something we planned, but it just happened. And I think we're all on the same wavelength. Is that right, boys?
We all rolled in probably about, 10 minutes apart. And Dan looked at me, I looked at Dan, and then Reynad put his shirt on, and I looked at Reynad, and we all just said, you know what? Let's just go with it.
That's right. That's right. It was awesome. Then we frolicked away into the grass fields. Day number 2 is about to begin, everybody. We have 8 players still battling out for $20,000 prize pool, where the winner not only gets $8,000, but also a qualifying spot for our IEM Katowice happening in March. Reynad, why don't you recap a little bit about what happened yesterday with the graphic that we see on screen?
Yeah, Zale's been having a pretty good run so far. Started off by beating Max 3-1, and then Silent Storm 3-0. Silent Storm ended up winning his first match against Savjiz, so we've only seen Savjiz play once so far. Today we're going to be seeing the losers matches. And then, yeah, in Group B, it looks like Ping Ping Ho ended up beating his Taiwanese team. Well, I'm not sure if they're teammates, but I think they prepared together. They have identical decks. But they got paired up first round. Ping Ping Ho ended up advancing and lost to Dark Wanix in really close series. And yeah, Dark Wanix and Zale are now 2-0.
That's right. So we're going to start off the day with the elimination matches. The first one from each group. We have Savjiz versus Max, followed by Weifu and Chalky. Then we move on to the runner-up matches with Silent Storm awaiting the winner of Group A's elimination match. And of course, Ping Ping Ho waiting for Weifu versus Chalky. And of course, then we go into semifinals and finals to find out who will be the Season 1 champion.
Yeah, so every single match today, someone will be eliminated from the tournament. But you can see on your screen that there is the rules if you've caught any of the regular season weeks, or if you tuned in yesterday to the Hearthstone Legendary Series. We're using that same format. Basically, each match is a best of 5. Each player brings 3 decks. In the first 3 games of every best of 5, they predetermine the order in which they're going to play those 3 decks. They don't know what their opponent is going to play at all, so they sort of go into that blind. If the match does go into a Game 4 or a Game 5, they can replay any of the 3 decks that they played so far. But once again, it's blind, so they don't know what their opponent's going to pick, but it allows them a chance to sort of feel out the type of decks their opponent's playing and sort of make an educated decision on what deck they should play.
Yeah, so that's the way it's going to progress. We've been seeing some middling results. Some series have gone, Game 4 on average, but generally speaking, we saw a lot more 3-0s than I anticipated yesterday, but we also ended up the day on a 3-2 match. Some pretty close games, some pretty one-sided games. What do you feel about today, like based off the field of decks that we've seen? Almost every class other than Paladin represented, which was not too surprising for some, but a little disappointing for others because they want to see their favorite Uther come out here. But, how are we feeling overall with the deck choices here about the players?
I mean, overall, pretty expected decks, but, we're starting to see things like Warrior come back into prominence. Dark Wanix ended up advancing 2-0 yesterday with Priest, which was really surprising. And we've seen a bit of Mech Shaman, too, from the Taiwanese players. So, yeah, it should be a pretty well-balanced mix of classes. I'm looking forward to seeing the games. Today, I think if anyone did bring bad decks, they'll probably get eliminated early, so then as we get later into the tournament, we'll start seeing closer sets.
Yeah, that's something I can completely agree with. And I think it's really cool, like you said, Dark Wanix, advancing with a Priest deck that's pretty unusual. He's waiting in the semifinals right now, but one of the things that was really interesting to me is who is going to be the one challenging him, because he looked like he was on fire, right? Some of the decks, or top decks that he was getting, the draws, and of course he was playing pretty well too. That's just an unbeatable combination, and we'll find out who is going to get one step closer, because the winner of this series moves on to play Silent Storm, and of course whoever advances from Group B or Group A in second place goes on to play Dark Wanix in the semifinals. Our first match will be Savjiz, or featuring Savjiz rather, from Finland, who yesterday he got swept by Silent Storm and unceremoniously stormed off the stage. This was something that he apologized for moments after on Twitter, but still, there was a lot of emotion running through his veins as soon as he got completely destroyed in that series.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there's a lot on the line here, especially losing out in the first round. You can really feel like you're falling behind the tournament. And again, like I said, there's going to be someone eliminated from all the matches moving forward today. So the loser of this match, they do go home with some money, but every time they win, they double up their money. Every place that they move up, they double their money. So there's a lot of pressure on these guys.
Yeah, we got a chance to sit down with Savjiz to talk to him before his matches throughout the entire tournament. Let's hear what he has to say.
My name is Janne Mikkonen, I come from Finland and I play for Team Liquid. Yeah, I've been playing Hearthstone since the beta, and I think I'm one of the few who have said that I've been competing from the very beginning of competitive Hearthstone. And I'm still really enjoying the game after tens of thousands of games. I don't know how many I've played. But in the end, like, I'm still really enjoying the game. I think the game is so good. So that's a big thing for me, and I don't know how well could I force myself into practicing hard for tournaments if I didn't like it at all. I enjoy the most in Hearthstone that the meta keeps evolving and you want to always stay one step ahead of the other people. There are times that I won, like Seed Story Cup, I feel like I was one step ahead of the meta and trying to replicate it here. I'm loving California, like it's one of my dreams. Like some months ago I was asked where do I want to go and what do I want to like compete, where do I want to compete in and stuff. So California has always been a place to go for me, and I'm really enjoying my time here. We had some good times at Universal Studios, and it's like a dream come true. I think I have a great understanding of the game, and I know what's important, and I have like right mindset towards the game, and like the way I see it, every single turn is important, and you have to max out your chances. And when it comes to like who's good and who's average, I think the biggest thing is that when you have a bad hand and you're in a bad spot, that you make the best of it, and sometimes maybe might be able to salvage one of those really bad draws into a win. So I think that I'm okay at doing that sometimes.
Pretty somber tone from Savjiz. He did have a lot of fun. He was right. Universal Studios was amazing.
Yeah.
We went on two things that stuck out in my mind. One was the Transformers 3D ride, which was like an hour and a half, 2-hour wait, but totally worth it, man. It was crazy. It was like one of those 3D experiences where like you're going through like a grenade or something. They like heat up the room. It's really sick. And then we went through a movie of Shrek with this 4D where Eddie Murphy as a donkey kept sneezing on us and water got sprayed in their face. And it was like the worst thing. So what's this play going to be like today? Is it going to be like the Shrek movie or the Transformers 3D? I don't know. We'll find out. I think a person that will be testing is Max from the UK. This guy is a player that I feel like just keeps getting underestimated for a long time, but he keeps coming up and showing up to tournaments, and I'm waiting for a true breakout performance from him.
Yeah, definitely a solid player. We see him going through qualifiers all the time, and yeah, he had some of the more unique decks we saw yesterday, actually. One of the only players to bring Hunter. See interesting choices like Dark Iron Dwarf. I'm looking forward to seeing, him give his decks another shot.
It was pretty well spoken about. If you didn't bring Hunter to this tournament, then you made a big mistake. So yeah. We'll have to see how it works out for him, though, because he's actually one game away from elimination.
Right. Actually, two of the players who brought Hunter are playing each other right now in the elimination match. Yeah. So maybe Max might be wrong, but he also said a lot of things to us before the tournament. We have a piece on him as well.
My name's Max. My handle is also Max. And I'm from the UK, and I play for Team Method. I attend lectures, I go to labs, I do problem sets, I do all the student things. And I play Hearthstone as much as possible in my spare time. So I'm currently studying physics, so I'm not really sure what I want to do with my degree after I finish it. I mostly did physics because I really enjoyed it and I was reasonably good at it. I think I generally bring new decks to each qualifier, so I'm not playing like the same thing over and over again. And I've played very little ladder this month, so I've not been like grinding hundreds of games. So it's mostly just playing tournaments, and like compared to playing ladder, that's actually not that many games. I play 30 games over the course of 2 days in a tournament. That's much less than when I was grinding ladder for 12 hours a day over the holidays. I've always liked Miracle Rogue. And even when Leroy was nerfed, I still liked Miracle Rogue. I actually was one of the first people, along with Forsen, to play Miracle Rogue without Leroy before the Leroy nerf happened. So I've always liked Miracle Rogue, I've always liked Freeze Mage. I actually do quite like playing Hunter, not the Undertaker Hunters, more like the mid-range, like High Main, Ragnaros Boom. New style of Hunter that's come around since the Undertaker nerf. But I wouldn't say like any of these decks like define me particularly.
Well, there he is, Max Simpson, is sitting there on the verge of elimination. Why is that funny, TJ?
I don't know. Everything's funny. Max is a big fan of the Miracoli. He's I could just listen to Max talk like all day.
That voice, though, right?
Very
Yeah,
soft.
he was up on the caster couch yesterday, and I just wanted to like lean back on all these comfortable pillows that we have here on this couch and just, let him do all the casting.
Like Hearthstone's Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, I would definitely want him to read Everybody Poops to me to sleep, so it'd be pretty nice. Max is having a lineup that features Hunter, Rogue, and Warrior versus Savjiz Hunter, Rogue, and Druid. Now, the difference is in one class, but it looks like we'll have varied matchups throughout the first 3 games. And remember, this is elimination. They're guaranteed $1,000, but they have to win 2 games in order to get out of groups and double up their money. And I know that both these players, they're from Europe. They came a long way. In fact, Max hopped onto a plane 4 hours after us calling him in an emergency because we had to replace Magic Gaming last minute in order to get him to this competition. Otherwise, we'd have had 7 players at this LAN.
And it doesn't match up very well, but there's a lot of pressure on these guys in this situation. They came so far, they worked so hard. It was a grueling 8-week regular season for these guys, and they had to work really hard just to get where they are right now. And to be one of the first players eliminated is something that neither of these guys wants to show the Hearthstone community.
Absolutely not. So let's go into game number 1, Hunter versus Rogue. And this one is going to be Max on the Rogue, Savjiz on the Hunter. And already we start seeing some opening mulligan decisions here. What do you think about this opening hand for both the players right now?
I mean, it's pretty much what you'd expect as the Hunter player. Pretty standard. With Rogue, we don't really know yet. I like keeping the first SI, though. Yeah, the reason that Hunter actually came into popularity is because of Rogue. Like, over the course of the past week and a half, Rogue's really just established itself as one of the best, like one of the top 3 decks in the game. And because of that, people started searching for counters to it, and one of the things that they found works reasonably well is this slower type of Hunter deck. So I still think the matchup is not unwinnable for Rogue. I still think it's actually like pretty close. Because, Rogue still has ways to deal with Hunter's threats pretty effectively. You can Fan of Knives the Haunted Creeper. Sap is really good against High Main. Deadly Poison can take out Piloted Shredder, but of course you're taking damage the whole time you're doing this, so yeah, it should be an interesting matchup. I haven't seen it too much yet, but yeah, the people who got really high on ladder in the past few days using Hunter did it by just farming Rogue mostly.
Yeah, and then on the same flip side, right, those Hunters also are starting to get preyed on by other things too, like maybe a faster version of Hunter beating the slower version of Hunter, and all of a sudden it's a year ago again where we're having a Hunter ladder. Well, I mean, that's what's happening on the ranks. But at the same time, competition-wise, it seems like the Hunter hasn't been doing terribly well. As both of these players, again, they're the only Hunter players in the entire top 8.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they didn't go as well for them yesterday as they would have hoped, but draws may have had something to do with that.
Sure.
Maybe it's not indicative of the strength of the deck. We'll see.
Yeah, it's sort of good that Savjiz played really early in the day yesterday because he had the chance to sort of recoup and rethink how he wanted to approach the matches that he was coming into today. And you can't really let that affect you because Hearthstone is a lot mental. So if you come into a day already frustrated, then it's going to affect your play quite a bit.
Is it ever not Huffer?
Yeah, it's not Huffer the moments you need Huffer for lethal.
Oh, man. Well, this definitely messes with Savjiz's with Max's Blade Flurry turn that he was trying to set up with that weapon attack. So instead, he's just going to have to trade off Shade and play a Teacher, which makes sense. Savannah Highmane's going to get sapped eventually if this piloted Shredder doesn't. And I guess it's just Violet Teacher versus a bunch of unkillable minions from the Hunter side. This is kind of the issue with Rogue. Like, once you've sort of stabilized, Oil lets you kill them pretty quickly, but not as quickly as you'd like. So even if Savjiz can deal with every single threat, or sorry, even if Max can deal with every single threat that Savjiz puts out, he still will. It's like it's not very likely for him to end the game before he just loses to hero power, especially considering Savjiz is sitting on 12 points of damage with double Eagle Horn Bow. As this game goes longer and longer, Rogue's chances just kind of diminish.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't really see that much healing also. It's usually just a Farseer. Sometimes we see the occasional interesting tech like an antique heal bot, and that can potentially swing and buy them some time.
But when rogues use weapon, a lot is some of their removal. Reynad said it's basically like they're sort of hindering themselves in the race because they're using the weapon as removal while they're taking damage every turn from Hunter's inevitable hero power or damage. So it just sort of doubles up on them, sort of like the old Handlock who damages himself with the hero power as well.
So this is cool. This is very cute to play around the Phantom Knives. Well, I mean, you're not necessarily playing around it, but making sure the Violet Teacher doesn't give extra tokens if you want to trade for it, and making it more painful exchange so you don't get the 1/1s as much as you like. It's a pretty nice play, middle of the road here for Savjiz, while still being able to put on a little bit of damage in the Pilot Shredder.
Instruction begins.
Looks like we are going to see a Blade Flurry, but no poison beforehand.
I'm ready to
SI7 to clean up the Pilot Shredder. And I mean, he is going to seize the board. Depends if this comes out weak or strong.
That's not bad. Seeing another card's always nice. Oh, wow. Lotheb's fantastic against Rogue.
Yeah, it's so good because it shuts down almost all of its... I mean, without spells, Rogue is a very mediocre deck. Just because its hero power doesn't really scale that well into the late stages of the game. And if you can't utilize cheap spells, then what's the point?
I think we're most likely going to see him trade off Blood Mage first here. Just look at his options first. And most likely Eagle Horn Bow. I mean, Lotheb on this board is fine, but Bow is just pretty clean. You don't want to let Rogue develop too many minions or else Oil's just going to kill you very quickly.
And the longer you let two bows sit in your hand, the tougher it is to be able to play both of them over the course of the whole game. So
yeah, it's a fair point. Well, you know, it challenges the SI7 agent as well. Now the Lotheb does that at the same time too. And the second Highmane being drawn, I mean that's a lot of firepower in the mid game. But that's where Rogue's definitely going to be looking to use cards like Sap in order to gain a board advantage, and then maybe the Oil and Deadly Poison combination for massive damage.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of just weapon damage that Savjiz is facing down next turn is actually pretty insane. I mean, Rogue might have turned it and become the aggressor at this point.
yeah, especially since he's going to be able to leverage that Sap to basically waste an entire turn from the Hunter. If he throws down a Highmane here, then it's going to be just a huge swing in Max's favor because he can only take out one of these, and he's going to be taking a lot of weapon damage. Sitting at 23 health, but that 23 health can actually go pretty quickly if you don't have control of the game when you're the Hunter player.
Now, Hunter is going to go for the Eagle Horn Bow. Knowing about the Sap definitely makes that the better play.
Yeah, it's a very heads up. Making sure just to not, because if he gets sapped, then not only is he going to take big damage, but he's going to lose board even more because of the Violet Teachers. Still so much damage, though. Hold on.
You just do it, right? It's,
yeah, 3, 5, 11,
10 plus
14,
4,
18 damage.
Yeah.
Am I counting that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if he has enough mana to do everything.
You have to also think, though, if you
doesn't-
ignore everything and go face, how much damage could the Hunter possibly do next turn? He's already got a beast on the board, and he's staring at 11 points of damage with the hero power, so...
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it would take 2 kill commands.
Yeah, because he already has the Eagle Horn Bow equipped.
I'd like to see the other Deadly Poison played here and just go face. I mean, that does line up lethal for next turn. You have the sap for a taunt. You have the eviscerate. Lothub's already been played. What could go wrong? Besides double kill command.
Besides double kill command.
What could go wrong? Famous last words from Reynad.
The weapon rocking the face of Savjiz. How is he going to respond? He had 1 kill command.
It's not quite enough.
5, 6, 11, 16. Oh man. Is there anything off a web spinner that could help him?
Well, Silverback Patriarch gets sapped. So I can't think of anything.
I don't know if there's a way out here for Savjiz.
Thinking about other beasts as well.
Is there a beast that freezes? Yeah, it's
Oh,
not gonna
well.
work.
Interestingly enough, I mean, he did get a taunt with the sap. Sap is too powerful. So Max will take game number 1 then, just because he has the perfect answers to what Savjiz has. I think he's going to be pretty disappointed. I hope this doesn't put Savjiz immediately on tilt, considering that he had a pretty good position for the majority of the mid game.
This is starting to look a lot like the start of his series yesterday, so you're definitely right. And
Oh man.
oh,
Uh-oh.
uh-oh.
Max trying to get inside of Savjiz's head a little bit already.
Bold
Psychological warfare right off the bat.
Timid Max from the UK with his soft voice and his delicate pronunciation of the word frothing. Going with a little bit of BM there.
You know,
Savjiz is not looking amused.
he saw Savjiz take the loss kind of hard yesterday. Maybe he just sees it as an opportunity to get an edge that way. I like it.
And deep breath. I mean, yeah, I think so. I think that's the way you do it. Any little advantage you can get, try to leverage that as much as possible. We go into game number 2, where I mean, there's still that warrior and the rogue and the druid and the hunter remaining for the out of the 4 classes here. But that's a pretty good start for Max. I think that was the matchup that he wanted, right, from the hunter and the rogue.
Well, I think it's a matchup he actually, like, honestly, I don't know who's favored there. It's probably very close. I thought Hunter was favored because
Right.
the Hunter players I've talked to who have, you know, really played a lot of the deck in this past week have said, you know, the rogue matchup's fine. They're boasting pretty high win percentages against it. So,
Sure.
I mean, that was just a pile of damage off of oil and 2 deadly poisons and an eviscerate and a sap. That was just, you know, like a very...
It doesn't happen every game, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
You usually don't have quite that much burst. Usually Hunter will have more time to develop.
And Hunter, Savjiz got stuck with double high main, double Eaglehorn bow in his hand, which he never even got to play the high main, which is, it hurts. I mean, a lot of times it's vulnerable to sap anyway, so it's hard to play it, but still it just never felt like he got going. And the other 2 matchups, I think, are actually in Max's favor. He's got Warrior versus Rogue, and then later on he's got the Hunter versus the Druid.
That's going to be tough then.
It's going to be very tough. It's an uphill battle now for Savjiz.
Well, he had an opportunity to strike first blood, but it seems like he's going to be down and relying on the Rogue to beat Warrior, a deck that's pretty hard for Valir to overcome. But yesterday it happened a couple times. The Rogue was able to upset the Warrior. And it felt like every single time we brought up the fact that Warrior is good against Rogue, Rogue won. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep my mouth shut and cast the game.
This matchup is definitely a 50-50.
All right, let's see if we get Despite. It's the most important card for Warrior here. Not yet. Okay, so that looks good for Savjiz.
Ooh, prep sprint in opening hand.
Does it matter? I mean, does it? Oh, forgot about the Kezon Mystic. Does it really matter if you don't have the Despite if they don't have Violet Teacher?
Maybe not. I mean, it's still really strong against Azure Drake, and
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
they kind of need Teacher in order to do much of anything.
So if they don't have it, you're pretty much feeling good anyways.
Yeah, I think so. I think we are going to see a turn 4 prep sprint, though.
Here we go.
Not going to lie, after having not played with sprint in a long time and trying out the newer rogue decks, I may have tried to double preparation sprint before.
The worst is when you like prep coin sprint or something like that, because
Yeah.
you're like, oh yeah, I got that, and you realize you could have done it right if you just coined first.
It's right up there with the old coin mountain giant.
Yeah. Well, I know how to play that card.
I would hope so, considering how long you've been playing Handlock. Gets on Mystic to put on a little bit of pressure, but just like we said, there's really nothing else for Savjiz to do this turn other than remove, so he can take an opportunity to fill his hand up to full.
And having the second prep here to leverage some bigger turns, especially now that he's drawn into that Violet Teacher, could be a pretty big deal. He had both preps in his first 5 cards, which is something that rogues sort of need to get a big tempo advantage. And he's going to hope when he plays that Violet Teacher that there is no Death Bite on the other end. But as we see, Max draws into that now.
I like what Reyna was saying yesterday too, just equipping the Death Bite in anticipation of what your opponent's going to do. It seems like he instead wants to get mileage out of the Fire War Axe. There are some targets with the SI7 agents and if there's any Farseers, but generally speaking, the Fire War Axe isn't the most useful card against Rogue compared to other classes.
Yeah, most of the time in this matchup, you're just going to be going to the face for 6 with it.
Right.
And in this case, I like that play over Death Bite because he has a Shield Slam in hand. So, you know, he still has a way to deal with whatever threat is played by Warrior here. Or, is played by Rogue, sorry. Yeah, so, the awkward thing here, though, he has to armor in order to Shield Slam. Well...
And how much mana does he have remaining? He would have 2 mana left after that?
Yeah, not much to do anything.
So maybe playing the Death Bite the previous turn might have been the better choice.
Well, he would have to also attack with it to the face.
Yeah, but if you're...
And it was coming up on turn 5 where an Azure Drake would come.
That's true.
So it's just one of those things where, you know, you don't have enough guarantee.
This is an interesting play.
Huh. To the face, huh?
Well, as we both know, I play a lot of Control Warrior, and there's sometimes when you're playing against Rogue where you just play the part of the aggressor, especially if you get caught with a lot of weapons in your hand. Sometimes if you're trying to play catch-up the entire game, the Rogue's just going to beat you anyway. And you get into some situations where you can just go face and still be able to win, especially if the Rogue has a bit of a slow start.
Well, now he's got to make the decision. Do I kill this Violet Teacher off? Do I go face?
Yeah, I think the Violet Teacher represents too much of a threat. For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I like going face last turn, but I would have, like, attacked face with the War Axe, not the Death Bite, you know?
Yeah.
And then just...
The Antique Heal bot does change things as well, so it's not like you can just burn him down with really powerful cards and weapons.
It's pretty crazy to think that the Rogue was already at 13 health. Uses weapon loss removal.
Yeah, you always use a lot of your own health as a resource when you're trading down anyways. He's going to build a pretty reasonable Van Cleef outside of big game hunter range. Just needs to be 6/6, doesn't have to be game ending.
Yep, definitely a strong play here to just deliberately not make it as large as you can. 6/6 is the perfect size for Van Cleef. Pretty much every situation.
It is really tempting though, because he could have squeezed it out to be a 10/10, and that sets up like 2-turn lethal.
Yeah, there's a time and a place for a 12-12, 14-14, 16-16 Van Cleef, but
I think
the time is not now.
I think I want to play Bluegill Charger. Just get him.
Oh, the South Sea Deckhand. I was like, what? I didn't even know what you were talking about. Yeah. The South Sea Deckhand, any point of damage. He just used the Whirlwind effect off the Death Bite too.
What's that Murloc actually called? I don't even remember.
Bluegill Warrior.
Bluegill Warrior.
Yeah. Or as he's known as in his homeland.
Exquisite pronunciation.
Thank you. Well, this is very uncomfortable. He doesn't have an easy way to activate the execute. Van Cleef is outside of big game hunter range. It's just so uncomfortable for the warrior player. Max, no matter how he goes about this turn, it's definitely not ideal. The best way to remove is to spend some mana, but even then he can't fully remove everything because it costs 8 mana, right? To armor up, shield slam, execute, and then use the Death Bite.
I think this might just be time to play Jungle Panther. Execute BGA. Well, maybe go face with Death Bite. I guess that gives you the opportunity to draw Grommash.
Yeah, or Ragnaros. So you have a possibility of winning.
Or Cruel Taskmaster, because you still have big game hunter in hand.
Well, it's assuming BGH can survive.
Well, I mean, if you play the Despite and you save the BGH, you can draw Taskmaster to kill the Edwin.
Right.
Buff the Edwin. So this is...
Oh, he throws out the well played. Maybe a little bit of mind games. Who knows?
Could be. I mean, one of those things where he might feel like he might be baiting Savjiz to play this antique heal buy as opposed to a more powerful play to set up for a win next turn.
Or he might just think that it's possible Savjiz might have the winning damage here.
So many.
Be a lot, but the oil and poison it could be.
Well, if he does go for the antique heal bot, he might draw first off the Phantom Knife since it's sitting with 3 mana. And instead, he would probably want to save the South Sea deckhand for if he picks up the Tinker's Sharpsword Oil, so that we can go for the combination damage.
Yeah, there's still 2 of those in the deck, aren't there?
Yeah, this rogue still got plenty of juice. And I wouldn't blame him. I mean, it's one of those things where, is it worth risking like everything you've set up for this game and just dying to a Grommash if you're not careful?
He's still in a pretty good position regardless. He's still maintained card advantage with the prep sprint early on in the game, so.
Oh, and not to mention that Violet Teacher would just get crushed anyways by the Death Smite number 2,
Yeah.
so.
Good point.
Yeah.
Acolyte's not a bad draw here. I think we're going to see that come down. And anti-healbot killed off. Really wants to see another execute or a shield block or Taskmaster.
Yeah, he would have just enough mana if he did that play to be able to use the Taskmaster plus the BGH. But if he draws into something that's more expensive or that he can't play, his real only other opportunity this turn would be like to armor up or just play the BGH with no activation. So it's sort of risky, but it's really the only line of play that he has.
There's so many cards he can draw that are useless though because of mana cost. Oh.
That's rough.
Yeah.
So is this... I don't think it's time to shield slam your own.
Yeah,
Just yet.
You're not that desperate.
I don't know if I like this BGH play.
How much damage is that? 610. Oh, that's lethal.
He has it.
Now, how does he choose to do it? Because last game, Max took his sweet time and eviscerated his own face. Maybe Savjiz is not about that life, though. No?
I wish you could sap your own minions, if only for the sake of BM.
Well, Savjiz answers BM with GM.
Oh, giving a smile to the camera.
He's on the board. That was Savjiz's first win of the tournament. And he told me, you know what? I'm feeling good today because today could not possibly be worse than yesterday.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Oh, it's progress. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen Rogue beat Warrior, I think, all 3 times the matchups come up.
It's quite
Right,
surprising.
isn't that? It's just weird.
I think the Warrior players kind of were a little greedy with their lists. For example, you don't always see Big Game Hunter, in Warrior. But I feel like the decks are, like, they see that matchup as a good one, so they're starting to maybe cut cards like Lotheb, or just choose not to include them all together. Maybe these Warrior decks are just kind of greedier, so Rogue can capitalize on that.
Maybe, but then we see like Frothing Berserker in like Zalae's Warrior deck, and that's like, well, that's more mid-range approach.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see how it ends up panning out, despite the fact that we still believe Warrior's good against Rogue. Anybody watching this tournament might think otherwise, but
I think that
if you're on
Reynard's
ladder,
right.
go ahead, go for it.
Because Kazan Mystic was also put in his deck, and that was a really underwhelming card in that game specifically as well. So they're getting complacent, I think. They're starting to maybe overestimate their advantages against Rogue. And
I think it was a call against Hunter. The one thing, it's like, if
There's only
Hunter
2.
does come into this tournament and I have a Warrior and he's playing high mains, the one thing I can get an advantage back is to have a Kazan Mystic, and it didn't line up perfectly. But it means we're going to go to the blind pick stage no matter what. But before we do that, game number 3 is about to begin. Druid versus Hunter. Both matchups previously, I guess we've fully agreed that the underdog has won. Will it happen one more time?
Yeah,
Going into game number 3.
Last time we saw this matchup, I think Druid actually ended up winning, even though it's a matchup that seems like it would be really good for Hunter.
He's got the Ragnaros in his deck. He even alluded to that in his interview, saying he likes playing that form of Hunter way more than Undertakers and Abusive Sergeants and Wolf Riders.
No wild growth for Savjiz here.
Oh, there we go.
Zombie
He's got
Chow's great
something-
though.
He's actually got something better than turn 1 than coin wild growth.
Yeah.
Savjiz loves playing Zombie Chow in his Druid decks. He always has at least one Chow in there. And, you know, when you draw it at the right time, like here, it's very strong.
It feels just so good, especially against faster decks, to play Zombie Chow turn 1. Because it stops the momentum so much of the aggro player.
Right now, Savjiz is deciding between coining out his Shade and X-Ramus and getting it buffed earlier, or trading, or, you know, wrathing so he can keep his Zombie Chow around. I like wrathing more. That lets him save his coin, too. His hand's kind of clunky. He wants to use that coin to get out a relevant play a turn sooner, like Sylvanas.
Right, and that forces Max to play this Mad Scientist, which Zombie Chow could pop the secret, and if it ends up being the freezing trap, this Zombie Chow has done massive damage against Hunter already.
Absolutely. If that can kill off a Scientist and then actually proc the trap.
Is it a freezing trap? It is. Oh, that is really bad news for Max.
Wow. And the Hunter just has a really slow starting hand. Lotheb, Savannah Highmane, and Dr. Boom, probably the 3 heaviest hitter cards in a Hunter deck, all within the first 5 cards.
Does it matter what he's attacking? Because I feel like I haven't seen Snake Trap in a while.
Yeah, I would attack face because there's no reason to give him a Snake Trap if it is one.
Right.
If it's explosive, you're fine with that anyway. It's not going to affect your Shade much. You're still losing your Chow. Alright, well, won't get punished for it. It's not a big deal. That Potted Shredder, though, best possible draw here as well. You know, despite not having the wild growth, if you just get, like, your Zombie
curve,
Chow,
yeah.
into your Wrath for their Knife Juggler, into Shade, into the best 4-drop in the game, it's like, you know, the deck does just fine without
Second
wild
best
growth.
4-drop behind Mokushan Ward.
You know, Motion Ward blocked Shredder twice, buddy. I'll have you know,
I've gotten a lot of Mokushan Wardens off of the Pilot Sky Golem, and it actually was pretty impressive the couple times I've seen it.
Right, yeah. I'll have you know, I've playtested that card a bit recently, you know. Let me tell you about Reversing Switch.
Make it the world's biggest Magma Rager. Well, now Hunter has to fight for board and try to use a second freezing trap in order to do it.
Yeah, that's a card that's definitely very good against Piloted Shredder. It's nice to see, I don't know, it's nice to see kind of the slower Hunter deck make a resurgence in the metagame. The one with Abusive Sergeants, Leper Gnomes, Wolf Rider, that gets a little bit frustrating to play against for, you know, all 45 seconds that the game lasts. But this is a little bit more tolerable. You get to play your cards, you know, replay things to get freezing trapped. You have time to lose slowly.
He's got, I think, the 3 heaviest cards in his deck. Oh, actually, he has Ragnaros as well. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, that's
So it is very
true.
mid-game, like on the late-game centric side of that Hunter.
So Savjiz, or excuse me, Max knows at this point that. Is it Savjiz? I keep messing up names by mistake. Okay.
yeah. Savjiz is the druid.
Okay. The little icons are switched. Or no,
There's
they're
what
not.
I've been told is a coin that indicates
Right. Oh,
whose player's turn it is.
okay. We're figuring out this overlay one step at a time. But he was just deciding which guy do I want to get freezing trapped, right? Because he knows it's freezing trap. He's not going to let that happen to Piloted Shredder. So he was deciding, you know, do I want to throw down the Zombie Chow, let that get Eagle Horn Bowed? Do I want to play Mind Control Tech, let that get Eagle Horn Bowed? I like his play here.
Yeah, it's interesting. And now that Max has went for the median high main on curve, and he's going to follow it with Dr. Boom, it'll be one of those things where Druid really has to make sure not to take too much damage and let this completely ruin the game. And Sylvanas is an excellent card for exactly that.
Definitely. He had the option to kill the High Main here with a Keeper of the Grove and a Hero Power, but I like the Sylvanas play a lot more. Sure, you're going to take 6 damage because of it, but against a slower Hunter deck, that's a lot less relevant than if it were a more aggressive version.
And you're sort of forcing the trades on the Hunter in that situation as well, because he can't really afford to ignore that Sylvanas, especially like you said, when it's a heavier hitting Hunter deck, more mid-range with the bigger creatures. He can't afford to have something bigger stolen.
I realized that Keep of the Grove is even is so good. It's already very effective against high main, but it can silence the high main and effectively pick the target what you want to get stolen, as opposed to potentially the 2/2 hyenas that spawn off the death rattle. So say he plays Dr. Boom, you can kill off a boom bot with a hero power and the pilot shredder and steal the 7/7.
Yeah, it'd be a very powerful play. Sylvanas is just so frustrating to play against when you don't have the answer and you have a minion like Savannah High Maiden to play.
Oh man. So he got the damage in, but unless these boom bots do massive damage, he also has Big Game Hunter and Mind Control Tech. I forgot about that too.
He's got multiple answers to be able to deal with this. Let's see what he gets first. This is all
right, 1-1.
Well, it's not what he wanted.
It's okay though.
It's fine.
The play still happens.
Well, left boom bot is still, as Strife Crow put it, the third best GVG card. So
second best.
Oh, second best.
The third best is right boom bot.
Gotcha. And is it stage right or
camera left?
Camera left. It looks like he is going to go for that line of play. You can silence here and steal the Dr. Boom.
It's pretty big board here for Savjiz, and of course Unleash the Hounds could be something that ends up biting him, but I think this is his best bet. Steals a high maiden.
Yeah, I like this play a lot more.
You don't like the 7/7 as opposed to the high main? Just stick here?
Yeah, I mean, would you play a 6-mana War Golem or a high main in your deck? I'd play high main.
It does make it better against Unleash the Hounds and Hunter's Mark, that's for sure.
Yeah, so that Unleash is drawn, but Savjiz has a lot of life to play with at this point. It's not a huge deal. The Unleash isn't really going to deal with that board very well, and it's not going to deal too much damage to his face.
I wonder.
So it seems like Hunter just kind of lost control of the board, and I mean, this is a situation where Savage Row is almost always just lethal.
Yeah, actually. That's just it. Doesn't matter if there's Lotheb. And Savjiz is going to run over Max with the Druid. Yet another upset happening in game number 3.
The underdog prevails once again. Oh. Playing along.
Well, Savjiz, he took off his jacket because it's getting hot. It's warming up here in the kitchen, but Max, he still has his jacket on. I think it's time for him to get serious as well.
Yeah, it was a great game. Man, those draws off the top just really filled out the Druid curve perfectly. Zombie Chow and a Piloted Shredder. Yeah, that was a really strong showing. And we're seeing these tech choices from Savjiz, like Mind Control Tech, that you don't see very often in these lists. Just really pay off right there. I mean, to be fair, the Mind Control Tech didn't have like the highest impact, but you know, even Sylvanas, not everyone plays that in Druid. Some people are opting to play Piloted Sky Golems and stuff. You know, can you blame them? It gives you Mogashin, but it's like the MC Tech. I like that. It's not a. It's an interesting choice. I'm glad we're seeing more of it. It kind of fell out of favor the past week. My deck even has Harrison, Lotheb. It's just like a very big game hunter. A lot of situational cards. So
he wants to kill hunters and warriors, I guess. Or not even warriors, but just like the Harrison. It's like a really interesting call because you can destroy the rogues as well with all their weapons. You can shut down if they have like a second charge of deadly poison.
Yeah, I mean, when those cards hit, it's such a big payoff.
Rogue versus Druid. We haven't seen this matchup yet so far, and that is the blind pick stage. Keep in mind, they're allowed to choose any deck as many times as they want in this stage. And Savjiz is one game away from staying alive and advancing to play Silent Storm for a rematch. And Max will have to win 2 in a row, but I think he can do it. I think he can do it. And Rogue is an excellent deck to do it with.
And if Max ends up losing this next game, he will be eliminated from the tournament. So he's going with Rogue. And
very strong deck.
Yeah, the blind pick phase is a little bit interesting because you get a chance to feel out what your opponent's playing. You see all 3 of their decks, and you have to make a choice just based off that information of what deck you think is going to be the best. Some players decide to just have the highest probability. They pick the deck that is strongest against the most decks of their opponent. And some players just decide to go for comfort. They go with the deck that they feel like they played the best.
Oh, man.
Whoa!
The dream.
Pretty sure that's a 2-pair.
That's literally the best
He could
opening
empty his
hand
hand.
you can have as
He could
Druid.
empty his hand right now.
Yeah, that's the best opening hand you can possibly have in Hearthstone, I think.
Savjiz is even surprised. You can see the look on his face. He says, what do I even do?
So yeah, this matchup's actually like super close. It's one of Rogue's least good matchups. So, you know, Hype, for example, has played the new version of Rogue for several hundred games, and he showed me his stats from it. And Druid had the lowest.
That is instant 500 karma on the front page of Reddit.
Yes, it is.
It's farming.
Someone's thinking ahead.
NFW playing Druid.
A vote to the left.
That needs to be in the meme competition, for sure.
You can see
My
someone
goodness.
behind the scenes is going to be contributing to that today, it seems.
I mean, you can put out an Ancient of Lore on turn 3.
Yeah, it's a fine play. Couldn't really fault him.
Fine play.
Fine.
I mean, this does become the case sometimes. You know, you don't really need all your ramp in the early game, but it even fits out pretty nicely because then you can shade next turn with Wild Growth into another Ancient of Lore on turn 5.
Yeah, I mean, the risk you run with those hands with a bunch of Wild Growths and Innervates is that you just run out of plays. But to get 2 Ancient Lores right after that, it's just going to be a real uphill battle for Max, but not unwinnable. You know, maybe he can. Rogue is just the most efficient removal in the game, basically. I mean, for 2 mana, you can take out Druid of the Claw, for example, with like a backstab Eviscerate. So even though Savjiz is going to be getting out these large minions quickly, Rogue is the class that could deal with it. So
That's true. I mean, he's got some tools as well with Eviscerates, SSF. He can pair the damage.
yeah, I would like to see a backstab SI here.
Many options.
Some
sure.
classes would just struggle just to deal with the 5/5 alone. Not only that, but he's also drawing cards and getting ahead with the Wild Growth. So
I mean, 5 health is the magic number. There's so many things that does 3-4 damage, or even in pairs of 2, like Rogue, for example. Backstab SI requires even a weapon hit, so it's not even like it's a free kill.
Here we go.
So looks like he does manage to deal with it, but I mean, Savjiz is going to continue this pain train.
So what's cool here is, even though this is a fantastic Wild Growth Shaded Axaramis, Max has the option to coin Azure Drake, prep, or sorry, he didn't have the Phantom Knives. Yeah, man, that would have been insane.
Oh, you're right.
He
If he had that
mauled it,
Vandals, yeah.
he can
He had 2 or something like that.
coin
Something
Azure
like
Drake
that.
and pray for.
That's ambitious, but I like
Very
it.
ambitious. Maybe a little too ambitious. Valid Teacher seems like a more reasonable play.
Yeah, no reason to coin poison. I mean, you could get the 1/1s now, but swipe's very likely to happen.
I mean, he has swipe too, so he's not necessarily as afraid of the 1/1s as he used to be. So this Ancient of Lore still should absolutely come down.
Savjiz even has the mind control tech as well, so he's not even too afraid of the Valid Teacher because he knows that if tokens are spawned, he's going to be able to try his luck at stealing something big.
You're right. That's actually a really good point too. With all those 1/1 apprentice tokens come out, Mind Control Tech has use not only against Hunter, but also Rogue, 2 classes which he probably predicted to be popular.
Yeah, inclusion definitely makes a lot of sense. Stealing a 1/1 isn't the most high impact thing, but you know, if he does get Vile Teacher, that could easily be a free win. He's just deciding whether to trade off or not now. I think I like waiting a bit more, but wouldn't fault him for.
Gives you a higher percentage chance the following turn to steal something larger. It's just whether or not he wants to take the damage or not. It looks like he doesn't.
Yeah, really respecting just the damage output from Rogue with oils.
Speaking of which.
Alright, time for Prep Eviscerate for sure. One of the most efficient ways to take out Ancient Lore, and even gets 2 apprentices.
Yeah, but 2 juicy targets, which Mind Control Tech.
Yeah, it's a 50-50 whether or not he gets something really useful.
Still can swipe after it as well. So if he takes the Violet Teacher and swipes. If he takes the Violet Teacher and swipes, it's a clear board.
Oh my goodness.
And 1 happy Finn.
Is the light shining upon Savjiz today?
Oh!
Wow, what a turn.
That is backbreaking.
And
Or max breaking.
Oh man.
Reyna does not look surprised in the slightest. His eyebrow did not raise at all.
He's having flashbacks.
Here we go.
He's like, oh geez. Is this me?
You know this
on
field all
ladder?
too well.
I go to cast this weekend, Dan, to get away from ladder for one day, and I just see the same stuff. It's always the man.
Wow.
The amount of times.
Max took it like a champ, to be fair. He's really trying to keep it together, but it's one of those things where you can't help but feel devastated.
What can you do about that? That's just Well, I mean, is there any way for him to get back into it? It needs to be a really nice flurry.
Yeah, he needs flurry now. And even then, he has to give up his shade because the Sylvanas. Oh, I guess you can zap that too, right?
Well, as far as the draws that aren't Blade Flurry go, it's probably the best.
But if he sprints this turn, there's a chance that he might just be dead.
Right. I mean, he's always going to be on that with, with the fact that Savage Roar and Force of Nature, he has enough mana to do it. He's still on 7 mana, but Druid's going to be on 10.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, he's just going to try to push as much damage as he can.
Here we go.
All right, well, he's just going to leave it up to Savjiz to generate the damage. 5, 8, 12, 18, 19 damage. He's 1 damage off lethal.
Yeah, 1 off. It was actually a little bit more than that. He's 3 off.
Oh.
Because the...
Oh, right, the tokens.
Yeah.
That spawn.
I think we are just going to see him trade off here and develop a Dr. Boom and Hero Power. Using the Hero Power for Druid here slightly decreases the chances that he dies next turn, so he probably wants to do that instead of playing Shade.
Sure.
Maybe it'll stop him from dying to a Shiv or something.
What if it's one of those things where you play Dr. Boom, you put him down to solo health, and he has to Blade Flurry to win, and then the Boom bots kill the Rogue?
Is it a draw then?
Is that a draw?
I'm not sure.
Or it might be the sequence where like Rogue technically does the damage first, so it gets the win.
Yeah, with Hellfire, I know it's a draw, but with an effect like that, I'm not sure. I know the animation finishes, like both players would die.
Right.
But yeah, the person who got Blade Flurried, I think, would lose. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I would have to assume that Max would win there.
These cards are pretty popular, though. Blade Flurry and Dr. Boom, I'm sure it's come up somewhere before.
Yeah. Either way, I mean, how does Max climb out of this one?
I think he needs to... He's already played 2 preparations. Or no, has he only played 1
He's
prep?
played 1 prep. Okay, so that's the Blade Flurry. But
So
he's missing damage to
He
to
needs
end
to
the game.
sprint into South Sea preparation, 2nd oil. So that's the correct play, is to draw those cards.
Okay, so he takes the easy way out here, so to speak. The guaranteed safe 1.
Ooh.
Oh, but he took so much damage in the process
from
that
the boom
Force of
bots
Nature
alone.
is just going to end it. And Max, because he was not able to take that 1 risk of off the sprint, Savjiz is going to take this game and the series.
And everything just going right there for Savjiz in that series. Played it well, too, and Savjiz is going to move on.
Well, looks like it's starting to turn around for Savjiz, but Max's journey will end here.
That draw, though,
Yeah.
that screenshot.
Yeah, we're going to have to file, or we're going to have to fish for that file and post it ASAP.
Yeah.
Otherwise, someone else is going to get that karma instead of us. Well, Savjiz is going to go on to play Silent Storm in the runner-up match of Group A, and he's still alive. The winner of that goes on to play Dark Wanix. If we can step back a little bit overall in the series and look at the strategy of what these guys brought this weekend, did it make sense, given what Max brought relative to other players, that he's the first one out, or do you feel like it's just he drew badly?
What can you do against that Druid draw, you know? I don't know. I feel like his decks were fine. The Hunter deck I probably would have built a little bit differently, but overall, it's tough to say. I didn't see too many mistakes from him, but yeah, maybe some safer choices as far as classes go could have gone better for him.
Sure.
Tough to say.
What do you think, TJ?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I thought Hunter was going to be a lot more represented in this tournament because so many players, especially tournament players, were saying how strong they believed Hunter would be. But and Max even said it. He said, if you're not bringing Hunter, then you're making a mistake. And he's the first one out. But, I mean, Savjiz played really well. And he's going to go up against Silent Storm, who actually defeated him 3-0 yesterday. So that's going to be a tough match for him.
Yeah, well, I mean, now he has some information under his belt, too, right? Silent Storm plays that weird demon deck, so he won't be caught off guard as much as before. Maybe he can come up with a better strategy in that regard. And maybe you guys can also give us some feedback too. Hashtag HLS on the social media and let us know what you guys think. Join in on the conversation. You can tweet at us at AzumoQD, at TempoRena, or at Frodan. And of course, we also, while we're here thinking and talking about the social media, we also want to thank Plantronics for their support for Season 1 here at the Hearthstone Legendary Series overall. They joined us midway. And they're also the people that makes the headset noise canceling headphones. Even though we are in studio and the players are right there, Plantronics make sure that the players can focus in on their game in zero and basically shut out all the noises that we make. And that's going to do it. I'm done talking, rambling. I believe we have an interview ready with Anna, and it's Savjiz from Team Liquid.
Thank you so very much. I am sitting here with the winner of his first series today, Savjiz. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling awesome. I was a bit worried when the matchups were revealed. I felt like he had the upper hand in all 3 of the first games. But then I got some really fortunate draws, and I think I played it well too.
Well, I think you played well as well too. So let's talk about your first game where it was you lost to Rogue playing Hunter, and you actually were doing pretty well. You had some good draws. You seemed like you were doing very good, and then it all kind of came down in the last few turns. Can you talk to us a little bit about what was going on in your mind?
Yeah, if I took a bit more aggressive route there, I might have been able to win it, but I didn't have the kill command in my hand, so I felt like I have to trade here, because I didn't have the reach to end the game, and it wouldn't, just with hero power and bow, it wouldn't taken me too long. So I was considering going face a bit more on that turn and just hope to top deck the kill command. And when I got it from the top, I was like really sad. But I still stand behind the line of play that I took, and yeah, it's a tricky matchup with a bit slower Hunter against Rogue.
Well, speaking of slow, you also had both bows in your hand and both Savannah high mates, so you did get a little bit unlucky, and you still managed to keep your cool. And then talk to everybody a little bit about Game 3, where you had an incredible start. You had the Zombie Chow, you had the Shade, and then talk to us a little bit about the steals that happened that game.
Yeah, well, with the draws that happened, I don't think Max really had any chance. Like it's a good matchup for him, but he got really unlucky there, drawing the trap to his hand with both scientists. One of them was kind of useless, and yeah, I play only one. Oh shit, that's information. Only one zombie chow. Well, okay.
Nobody
so,
heard it. Don't worry.
So getting it I was okay, I don't have it, and then getting it from the top, I felt really lucky there. No innervate wild growth that time, but I didn't need it. The hand was still so good.
Exactly. You did not need it to win. Is there anything that you would like to say to your fans watching either here in the studio or right here?
Oh, thanks for cheering for me. Yesterday wasn't so good, but today is a new day, and hopefully I'll make it far.
Today is a new day. You did all your preparations. You won your first series. Best of luck to you later on against Silent Storm. And now, don't go anywhere, because our next match is going to be Chucky versus Weifu. And if you want to get in on the fun, tweet to us at #HLS your predictions. Who do you think is going to win the next games? Thank you for tuning in.